We're in the middle of the biggest technological revolution of our time, and it's only accelerating. In fact, there's so much going on, it's hard to keep track of what's going on. So I want to share something with you within this blockchain space that I think is absolutely mind-blowing, and it's, I think, the opportunity of this bull run. Before we dive in, my name's Kellam. Welcome to the BitLab Academy. I'm here to give you meaningful tools, meaningful content, honest community, and a sense of understanding of what's going on in the space. Now, the opportunity I'm talking about was actually brought to my attention by none other than Mr. Chamath Palihapitiya, one of the gentlemen on the All In podcast, some of the best minds of our generation. And he is no stranger to tech. In fact, he was all the way back in the days of Winamp. Remember that? Also AOL. And then, of course, he was partly responsible for that huge user growth of Facebook in its early years. He's moved on from that, and he's very, very large in the venture capital space. And of course, he gives so much information in that All In podcast. That, in fact, is what I wanted to share with you today, because I'm very, very, very focused in the blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto, altcoin space. I want to know where this market's going. I want to stay ahead of the curve. And when we're thinking about that next narrative, the narrative this cycle, and I think cycles beyond, that's going to have a major impact and absolutely having the ability to change the course of our lives if we understand what we're looking at, if we understand how to participate, then that's what it's all about. So with that, let's dive in and see exactly what he had to say.
The rest of us can kind of pile on. But the other version is much more distributed, and I'll say a dirty word here, but I think it matters. Like, it's like this Web3 model does actually apply here, where there are some really interesting early adventures in crowdsourcing technical completion. I would encourage you to look at a project that I'm starting to focus a little bit on called Bittensor. And I was like, what is this thing? And it's basically a thing where you go and solve technical problems and produce features that people require, that need, and you get paid in this underlying currency. That is actually a distributed form of venture that actually makes sense.
Like
in a world.
bounty?
Essentially,
yeah.
Where, like, 15 companies that need a replacement to Salesforce just say, here's the bounty and here's the feature set. And it's a crowdsourced or a community sourced PRD. And then some LLM spits out the code. Like, that is this crazy new world that we're going to. So it's all about speed of execution, I think.
So what he is talking about here is creating an economy around incentivizing the common human biome, the culture, real people. This is something I think a lot of the AI space is missing. It's talking about we're moving into this, not only machine learning, but also the ability to have artificial intelligence that we can collaborate with as people, but then also utilizing this technology, but also creating incentive structures that can reward those that are contributing to it. We're going to dive in a little bit more on this because this was so shocking to me. This has been on my radar, but it wasn't until this prominent person brought it up. And I was like, you know what? Let me look a little deeper on this. Let me see what it's all about. So let's do that. Bittensor, this is what he's talking about here. It is a parachain, or uses a parachain SDK kit on top of Polkadot. And remember, Polkadot is all about doing that interoperability, building and coordinating as basically a community unit, not all this individualism. And this is what I think is so important, because this is one of the things that is a tenet of Bittensor itself. And so we see Bittensor is an open source protocol that powers a decentralized blockchain-based tokenized machine learning network. The project is designed to accelerate the development of artificial intelligence by introducing an optimized training strategy in which models interact in an incentivized iterative ecosystem, while also advancing a more equitable and collaborative approach. So many words. What the heck are they talking about? It's an AI training and economy system that you could participate as holding a subnet, which is basically, think of it as a place of gathering that says, we're going to do this at this place of gathering, whether it's build a Salesforce competitor, or an LLM, which stands for limited language model. These are what these artificial intelligence bots or systems run on. It runs on the framework that you provided, the directionality, and also the different questions, answers, and variables that you can supply it with to start. And so when we have all of, think about the economy of the need for everything from help desks to HR to basically customer service chatbots to creating different imagery. We can't even imagine it all. The world is moving faster and faster towards automation. And so when we think about how that's going to get done and how people that are participating in it can also be incentivized to do so. And we just saw how important this is with CrowdStrike issue the other day. Brought down Delta for over a week and a half. Most computer systems out there that are using Microsoft 365 had some sort of failure or error. Why? Centralization. The biggest difference between the technological revolution in software and computer systems and even early internet is where we're at now is basically expanding on that, but doing it in a decentralized manner. We've seen the issues that came from Cambridge Analytica with the Facebook exploit of data and using it in ways that could shape elections and so on and so forth. In this next step, in this new technological revolution, this expansion into decentralized blockchains, it provides us opportunity to have open source, distributed, decentralized systems, which can also help keep checks and balances. It provides a democracy of authority. It provides a democracy of input. It provides a democracy of audits and checks and balances. And so when I'm thinking about AI and I'm thinking about blockchain and I'm thinking about how I'm investing in my future and what types of things I want to be a part of, Bittensor, it's looking better and better. So let's continue on here. Let's look at some other things. This is actually from a documentary from Everett Scott here. I just want to shout him out because this is such a great, I really implore all of you to go and watch through this. But this is a clip from it right here where he is discussing their team, the different teams involved in OpenSensor, as well as the other contributors to Bittensor, talking about what's going on with Bittensor.
Bittensor drives betterment and innovation by building permissionless global 24/7 direct incentive mechanisms or markets for anything. And why are those things important? There's no HR department. So if you think you can solve the problem better than the guy that lives in New York and has the hotshot computer setup, and he's been going to school at Harvard, but you can just do it better than him, you can contribute. You don't need to get handed your resume because you can just come into the system and try your best and solve the problem better than anyone else, and you should be rewarded that much better. And that's permissionlessness. It's global, it doesn't care. You don't have to be in the United States. You don't have to be anywhere. You can be in the tip of Patagonia or in Antarctica. So all of this potential is opened up. Bittensor does not care. It's like our eyelids all the way open to the world. And we can facilitate that because we have these permissionless markets that simply measure exactly what we want and reward that exact thing.
On this note right here, before we continue, I think this is so important considering the issues that have come to from the civil rights era and trying to bring equality to the world, but also basically overestimating and overemphasizing certain things that basically just made that same thing happen, but flipped on the other way. And we're kind of dealing with this crisis of equality now because everybody has a different definition of it. But with this, as we see what he's talking about here, this is, if you can do it, if you can build it, and yours is better, and we have all the different mechanisms that say what are the deliverables needed on this thing that is being requested or called for, then it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what you are. You're incentivized to do it, and the mechanisms in place that are, again, distributed, decentralized, and open source, it allows for a much more equitable, but also contributory, collective attention on whatever problem you're trying to solve. And this isn't just business. This could be towards research. This could be towards DeSci. This could be towards decision-making within governments. There's so many different things that this could be applied to. We don't even have an idea of where AI is going, but it's wonderful that we can have a decentralized, distributed system like this that also we're going to look at the tokenomics in a second. It's going to blow your mind. So definitely stick around for that. So there's another person that hops on here and talks a little bit about the collaborative efforts and the bringing together of not just driving an AI that can do all, but also catalyzing us as people to come together and feel empowered and incentivized to participate in contributing. That's what this world needs right now. So let's continue on here.
How does Bittensor work? Wow, that's a big question to start with. I would go back a little bit and think about the organizing force of cryptocurrencies. So today, the demand for AI technologies and AI data sets is set to grow massively in the next 5 years to deal with just the amount of dedicated compute needed to solve this problem. The reality is there's already more data centers and computers and GPU cores allocated against cryptocurrency than we need to satisfy AI demand for the next 5 years. So the market forces that surround cryptocurrency are an incredible way of organizing resources. Now, the problem with that is, at the moment, if we take Bitcoin, for example, all of that work to secure the network timesing very, very complex numbers together is essentially wasted the moment it's completed, except for the security element. The very simple answer for Bittensor is, what if we took that immense amount of compute, which is equivalent to somewhere between 100 to 200 terawatt hours, which is somewhere between 12 to 24 nuclear power stations of energy to supply it, which is about the energy usage of a mid-sized European country. And what if we used all of that work for the creation and provision of intelligence? What if instead of timesing large numbers together, we ran AI models and created inference? We trained models, we stored data. And what if you combine these two elements of the demand for intelligence and the market organizing forces of blockchains together? That's what Bittensor is.
So Bittensor is often thought of as being an AI project, and that is a really important part of it. It's part of its DNA that it's here to democratize AI. But I see Bittensor also as a decentralized supercomputer, no less. And as long as you can speak the native tongue of Bittensor, which is incentive mechanisms, you can harness all of that computational potential of the participants in those networks. It offers the ability to be able to frame your research problem or frame an AI problem and find a way to effectively carry this out at massive scale, day and night, utilizing state-of-the-art hardware and extremely motivated participants that are there to make their part of it, which is how they receive, sort of through the tokenomics layer, they receive their compensation for their participation. So Bittensor, first and foremost, it's an access to compute at scale, which is unprecedented. But secondly, it's also a really interesting way to utilize competition to actually get much better results than you would in a completely sort of flat army of bots all running the same plug-and-play code. The difference is everyone within that ecosystem in Bittensor is motivated to innovate, improve, use better resources, make algorithmic improvements, and the net result can be really quite incredible.
You want to build on Bittensor because it gives you access to an extremely powerful force for generating technical expertise. And when you set up a subnet, you set up an incentive mechanism, and you have miners start competing with each other to produce the best results. The network is essentially giving you continuously improving technical expertise.
Maybe a physical metaphor for this would be, imagine you've got a big block of iron. Inside of this block of iron, you have many, many atoms with very strong magnetic fields that can be harnessed and used for various things. Now, what tends to happen is all of those magnetic fields of these atoms, they're all pointing at random and they all cancel out, and the net effect is it's just a bulk of material that's completely inert, to be honest. But what happens if you bring a magnet to this piece of material? Well, what happens is all of those little arrows, which are from these iron atoms that have what we call their own magnetic field, they all snap into place and they all start pointing in the same direction. Now what's happened is by introducing something that kind of coordinates all of those components, you've amplified the amount of power and potential that that system contained. And I think that there's a strong similarity between what's happening when you write a good incentive mechanism and things just click, people are able to collaborate at scale, and what happens inside of this material. Because all of those iron atoms are kind of like people bringing their compute to the arena, bringing it to Bittensor. The problem is if people don't coordinate themselves, there's no net benefit. Actually, nothing really emerges from this. You need to coordinate all of that effort using an incentive mechanism, one that is thoughtful and explicit and objective, and the net result now is you have access to a massive amount of latent compute.
I mean, if that just the idea behind all this just blows me away. I mean, this is something that I'm going to be looking into much deeper, but I want to share some other things with you. I want to look at the tokenomics with you. I want to pull up the chart because all this is great, but what's going on? What's going on within this ecosystem? So let's go ahead and look at that. Before we do that, I do want to shout out Everett Scott again right here. Make sure you give him a follow. He's the one that did this documentary that I think was just released yesterday. I don't even know how I came across it, but I had to share this with y'all because I think it's magnificent what's happening here. And it doesn't mean I'm getting rid of my fetch or my ASI. It doesn't mean I'm getting rid of render, but these are the types of things, getting strategic allocations to different things that interest you, and you never know which horse is going to win the race, but this is looking promising. So let's look a little deeper into it. Well, we can see if we come over here to, I have it on my watch list, so let's go to watch list. Let's scroll down. Where are we at on the coin market cap rankings? Tau, I believe, yeah, it's number 41. So let's go ahead and look at this a little deeper. We have got 21 million total max supply. That is the same as Bitcoin. Now, of course, we cannot compare this directly to Bitcoin, but the fact that this has a max supply and it's only 21 million is something that's very good within this ecosystem. If you're looking for something, especially with the market cap right now of, where is it at? $2.2 billion. What's Bitcoin's at? Bitcoin's about 1.3 trillion at the time of this video. And I'm not even suggesting that this will go to 1.3 trillion. But my point is, when you have this limited of a supply and it's this early on in its ecosystem, we can see if we look at the total chart here on CoinMarketCap, doing a lot of building here and then getting a bit of a pop. I know that they did have a little bit of like a bridge hack or something, which is not necessary. This happens in the growth of these ecosystems, but this is presenting a wonderful opportunity with the price levels about where it's at right now. Now, where can you find it? You can find it currently on Binance, Kraken, Gate.io, KuCoin, Mexi, BitGet, BingX, Bitmart. There's going to be a lot. Just come to coinmarketcap.com on any asset you're looking for, by the way. Once you type it in, you pull it up, come here, right to this thing, click markets. It shows you where you can buy it. Now, when we're looking at these things, we went through all the stuff. I don't need to characterize this again, but it's not just for the development of AI or the development of this supercomputer. You can also, there's different sort of revenue models and participation models for different aspects of the community, because you need subnets with somebody that needs something. You need people that are just active within the community. You need people that are actually in their building. So this is one of those things that it seems like it's a catalyst for all different portions of this economy. And it's all about generating little sub-economies around specific tasks, specific actions, specific needs that essentially you can turn into a commodity, meaning that you can create an economy around it. So, this is mind-blowing when you think about what they're truly doing here with Bittensor. Now, when you look at this also, I pulled this up from @563DeFi, he shared this. He said, bullish on projects with work servers as active as this. Every one of these channels is a team building a subnet on Bittensor. God, you love to see it. And we could see all these different active communities here. And this is only just getting started. So what is it looking like on the chart? Well, this is on Binance. We can see it. It's a new enough project. You can see it really just on this chart right here. We understand where we're at in the total 3 market, in the total 3 chart. We understand where we're at on the global liquidity cycles. If you don't know, make sure you're tuning in to the BitLab Academy stream on a daily basis. I'm breaking this all down, but we're just now on pace to really start kicking into gear for that really hyper excited portion of the market where the altcoin market's going to start to heat up, where Bitcoin's going to start to heat up. And over time, I do think that this is an astronomically good opportunity for you to do a little bit of your own due diligence. If you like this video, if I'm bringing some information to you, I appreciate it. Make sure you head over here, check out their Twitter, and give a follow to any protocol or any project or any asset that you're trying to potentially either due diligence on or invest in. Come check out their Twitter, check out their websites. You'll want to see what they're doing with their team. And watch the documentary that I just shared with you. It's going to be here. I'll put the link in the description so you can find it. Learn more about Bittensor. AI is going to be one of the most exciting narratives in this bull market. And also shout out to the Polkadot team. I was just at the Decoded event in Brussels where it was so many different developers within the Polkadot ecosystem, not just DOT on their chain, but they're building a community of developers in different protocols, and Kusama and Nova Wallet and Centrifuge, Bittensor, building all these different things that can interoperate together, as well as having this PVM and EVM compatibility. So make sure you check that out. I'm going to put the video up right after this if you want to watch a little bit more about my recap on Decoded 2024. But that's all I got for you today. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Again, my name's Kellam. Welcome and thank you to the BitLab Academy community. I hope you have a wonderful day. That's all I got. Adios.